KORU. It doesn't look too bad. Volume's kind of weak. We got rising support on this. This is looking kind of bear flag. A strong downward move, and then we get some upward consolidation. The SRSI here, this shape is definitely very bearish. But that doesn't mean it's going to drop really deeply, right? This also looks like it's going to put in a double top here. This must be trading really thinly. These don't look right at all. Yeah, see, look, this trading is super thin on this. That's why this looks all jagged and weird. Durable resistance probably up here, right? So we get an inefficiency in the volume profile like here. So that might actually be a tiny bit lower. I was on the 30-minute. So that's interesting. When you change time frames, it changes the volume profile. I'm not entirely sure how or why, but I have noticed that. This one looks like it needs to check down, get down below 100,000. You're probably going to find some really strong support. So that one lines up with these. There you go. So big drop off right there, 96.4. Looks like support. NUMMUS. This is in consolidation, long consolidation, right? This is just a gigantic flag, pennant. Pennants are flags. Some flags are pennants, but all pennants are flags. If that makes sense. Do a measurement here. I'm sure somebody's going to ask, because normally you take these from where the wedge, this is an equilateral triangle, so it's pretty much even, right? I mean, it does seem to be going down a little bit, but it's pretty close. Even if it were descending, that would still be bullish. But consolidation in general implies continuation, and so that's what you've got here. You've headed up. We're headed up. I think we probably will continue to do that. But we have the rising support here, and the rising support starts here. So it wasn't really confirmed until the third tap, but I feel like it already started. So I'm going to use this as the height instead of using this. You can see why some people would argue that. A little bit more conservative. That height depends on where it breaks out from here. If it breaks out later, the target slides down. Let's do the same thing in reverse, just in case it goes down. Right, so we have an idea. You need to have at least two scenarios. What happens if it goes the wrong way? You need to know that in advance. Otherwise, yeah, you're like, oh, wow, it's going down. I don't know where to cut. You need to make that decision in advance, because if you make it under pressure, you're way more likely to make a bad decision. This looks like it's curling up. Nice bullish engulfing here, and then good move off of that. So we probably have a bullish order block like right about here. This was looking good to me for the upside move. Just go to the all-time fibs here. So we got to pull back above our 618, little wick blow up, but no serious challenge to it later. This is pretty healthy, and then the 0.5. You see we tap it. These levels are working a little bit for us here. I like this 382 level is working. We expect a little bit more wobble here, but then I would expect it to take back up. It's very common actually to see patterns within indicators like the SRSI here. It would not surprise me at all to see like an inverse head and shoulders, something like that, and then a continuation on up to the upside. That'll be really normal. So maybe it comes up here, hits this, may or may not deviate outside, but another move down, hits this again, may or may not deviate down, probably just bumps it. There's nothing wrong with deviation though. It's really super common on wedges to see deviation before the breakout, a little fake out on the move. Magic Eden, yeah, man. Yeah, what can you say? This is not good. That does not look, this looks bearish to me. See a bounce, kind of a V-shaped recovery, but this, the way this is looking, that looks like downside. The SRSI disagrees with me, and we do have a downside wick here. Daily momentum says down like mad. I think the 12-hour continues on down a little bit. The MACD is starting to pinch back again. I think it continues down, but we may not get a lower low. This is a double top. It's confirmed with the closure of the intervening low. Very likely to lose the range. It's probably going lower. Honestly, it's probably going to go back and check 95. 1 hour's kind of, ooh. Yeah, okay, so wick down here. That's probably just a big sale. So we gobbled that up though. So usually see the drift in this direction, and then a push off it. Really strong downside wick. You see a little turn down here. This will probably drift back up. We expect this to come back up here, so we'll see some buoyancy result from this, and then probably continue on down. Probably going to get a double bottom here, which means maybe it goes up and challenges 110, maybe 111, but you can see the drop off here about 110.5. So let's not say anything much above that. You're going to run into resistance. RIZZMAS, this looks awful. The trading's really thin. Yep, this one's been around for a good while. Ugh. A big one. And then it didn't really drive down very much. This one probably continues bouncing to the upside for a while. Looking for something maybe up near 7. Just a total snap read. This looks very strong for where it's at right now. It's coming up into some pretty significant resistance. But if this isn't a blow off top, then that's a continuation cup. So a lot of this, like the targets, it's just super mechanical. You just measure and extend. You do the same thing with the Fibonacci tool too. Did it backwards. Okay, cool. All right, I know what I'm doing. No, really. This is off of the retrace, not the drive. So, a lot of people will say, oh, you have to do the extensions off the drive. I hear you. That is true for the flag targets and stuff, but this works. This is where, target would be way up here. It's probably like negative 1.6 or something. Yeah, there you go. Not an unreasonable target, but really aggressive. That would be a really strong move. I don't see that as justified unless we see some really nice consolidation down here. That's just a lot to ask. Usually, you look for the 618 move and maybe the 0.1 move. It is an uptrend, so if the uptrend holds, you're good. If it doesn't, well, you know how that works. You can do this instead of doing the channel fibs. If you're in trading view as opposed to deck screener, you have the option of customizing these lines. You can put 50%, anything you like. Available on all platforms is the midline, the 50%. So that's generally what you're looking at for a healthy pullback. Deeper than that, you kind of start to wonder a little bit. Trying to decide if this could see another push up because we got 1 and then some consolidation, a little dip. 2, really volatile up here, right? Big range. If it consolidates a little bit, we may get another move up. This has just got to cool down. This is really hot too. Both the momentum indicators just need to chill out a little bit. Some good support right here around the 2.19 million. A little bit above that channel. You break down below this channel boundary. I would go to a lower time frame and look to see if it confirms this resistance. If it does, then you're probably going to see a dump down to that the height of the channel. BONK. Probably going to break down out of this, but it is showing some really good strength here. I mean, locally, this is a good spot for some support. So comes back up. Obviously, you want to see it break back above the midline, which aligns with our local point of control here. That's the high volume node. So no surprise that there'd be some resistance. So you want to see it get through that and challenge this again. I think it's gonna have a hard time getting above 1.17. But that's sort of short term. Let's back up for a minute. We just don't know if it's bottomed yet, right? So, I mean, we got the double bottom here. That was confirmed. Move off it. It looks like it's putting in a higher bottom, but this rising channel causes me a little bit of concern. I probably would not buy until it checks back down and confirms some support. JUL. People are like, well, what do you think about this? Well, I think it's crap. Why would you even bother with something like this? But every once in a while, they do have these pops down at the end. I would have expected a longer consolidation. Good spot for it, obviously. This is looking really good, despite the fact that the volume's tapering off pretty quickly. It came down, checked here. It just blew through this inefficiency, and it's bounced off it. So I think we could see continuing support. Probably stronger, just a fraction lower. Yeah, kind of like that. 2 little divots here. Like that thing in between them that probably a stronger pivot right there. It's got a 15. Yeah, a little rising consolidation, but probably going to bounce around, try a little bit lower, find some support. I think you're going to see support above 116, and then hopefully another try up and fill the wick. I know everybody loves to hear that. It could happen. Right on the edge of the divots, you got wick here, tap. So what this is the wick overlap band. A little consolidation area in between, 2 little divots like that. And you go just a little bit lower than that, but I mean, you can see how the action here acts as support here, acts as resistance here. To my eye, that's very clearly an SR band. A lot of times when you have a very fine SR band, it's more of a pivot, those are more likely to occur between sub-ranges. When you have a wider SR band with these wick overlaps like this, those tend to occur between major ranges. Everything up here was a major range. This is probably deviation into it. Everything, down here is a major range. So we're back in the secondary range. This was the time in the swamps. And it was the swamps. It got down below 100,000. Very, very uncommon for tokens to recover like this. So hopefully it continues to get attention. A little bit of a relief here from the USDT dominance. We're really liking to see that. We need that to come down. And the last time the USDT dominance hit the low, Bitcoin hit its all-time high. So if we get back down around that 4.3%, arguably we might hit the highs again. Bitcoin dominance, that has given us a little bit of resale. I'll admit I was wrong again. I thought it would top out under 65%. Guess that was a little wishful. It topped out, right around 66. Hopefully continue to bounce down. So that'll, hopefully breathe a little bit of life into our alts. I didn't do a whole lot of that long-term prognostication. We have a right translated cycle. We've talked about this already. That means that the high is coming later in the cycle this time, and it's probably a result of the capital that the market has gained from the ETFs. We're probably going to see a run towards the end of this, probably, October, November, December, maybe into January. I don't know what's going to happen short term. Like July, I'm not entirely sure. It's really, really flat in June, so we may have something in July. I think we'll probably have our low in August, and then September will probably just be like not much anything. I don't think we'll have a really bad bear time, but I just got to slog through everything that month that we have to get through. 2026 is where things get really, really interesting, and I totally agree with Pizzino on this, and I will write up a post sort of summarizing some of the things he said in his last video, and that is that if we get a left translated cycle for the next cycle, we could get another run, a really volatile and almost explosive run in 2026, which would look like a continuation of the 2025 run, this year's run, but it really would be separate. Then you're looking at potentially like 250,000 for Bitcoin, and those which I think are crazy right now, but in the future there are some scenarios or further down the road when that could happen. If that were to occur, make your money, take your profits, because, buddy, you're looking at probably, I would say probably a 2 to 3 year bear market after that. So you would see a big run up, you could see a big dump, and then just like a grind down for years, literally for years until the market resets. And that fits with the 18-year market cycle, the economic and real estate cycle. There's a lot of things that dovetail with that. A bigger macro picture, that's kind of what we're looking at. I will try and put out a Bitcoin Minute, and like I said, I'm going to write this up. Maybe I'll put out a video on it. It's kind of lame to put out a video on somebody else's video. Maybe we'll just do notes. Anyway, questions, comments, always open to those. Thanks everybody for showing up. That's about it for me.